Have you ever reached the end of a long day, looked back, and realized you've been incredibly busy, but not truly productive? That you've reacted to 100 emails, notifications, and demands, but you haven't intentionally chosen the one thing that truly matters to your soul? This feeling of being pulled in a million directions, what psychologists sometimes call decision fatigue, isn't a modern invention. It's an ancient human struggle. And this very struggle is at the heart of a story about two sisters, Mary and Martha, a story many of us think we know. But today, we're not just going to retell that story. We're going to unpack it through a fresh lens, connecting it to the science of focus and the architecture of our own inner lives. We're going to explore what it really means to choose the better part in an age of infinite distraction, and how an ancient desert blueprint holds the key to finding our center today. This isn't just about managing your time, it's about anchoring your soul. Our journey begins, as many do, with a simple expression of longing. It's a feeling deep within us, a spiritual thirst that the noise of the world can never quench. The psalmist captured it perfectly. As a deer pants for flowing streams, so pants my soul for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God? Psalm chapter 42 verses 1-2. This verse isn't just beautiful poetry, it's a diagnosis of the human condition. We are created with a deep-seated need for connection with the divine. But how often do we try to satisfy that thirst with other things? With work, with entertainment, with the approval of others? This brings us to a dusty road on the way to Jerusalem. Jesus and his disciples are weary from their journey. A woman of great hospitality, Martha, opens her home to them. This is an act of immense kindness and service. The Bible tells us in the book of Luke, as Jesus and the disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Her sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he taught. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. She came to Jesus and said, "Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all the work? Tell her to come and help me." Luke chapter 10 verses 38-40. Now, let's pause here. For centuries, Martha has been cast as the villain of this story, the stressed out, anxious workaholic who just doesn't get it. And Mary is the serene, spiritual hero. But I believe this is a profound and unhelpful oversimplification. Let's look at this with empathy. Martha's actions are born from a place of love. Her love language, you might say, is acts of service. She wants to provide for Jesus, to honor him with the best she can offer. In her culture, hospitality was a sacred duty. She isn't doing something wrong, she's doing something good. Her work is important. The issue Jesus addresses is not her action, but her disposition. It's not the serving, but the distraction that has captured her. Jesus' response is one of the most gentle and insightful moments in all of Scripture. But the Lord said to her, "My dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all these details. There is only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her." Luke chapter 10 verses 41-42. He doesn't say, "Martha, stop cooking." He says, "My dear Martha, you are worried and upset." He sees her heart. He recognizes that her service, which started from a place of love, has become a source of anxiety and resentment. She is no longer in control of her work is in control of her. What Mary chose was not an activity. She chose presence. In our modern world, we'd call this mindfulness or deep focus. She understood that the giver was more important than the gifts. She recognized a rare, sacred opportunity to receive something that no meal, no matter how perfectly prepared, could ever offer: a direct connection to the source of life. This reminds me of a story about the great violinist, Itzhak Perlman. Before he goes on stage to play for thousands, he spends countless hours in a quiet room, alone, practicing scales, just simple, repetitive scales. To an outsider, it looks tedious, boring, even unproductive. Why isn't he practicing the beautiful, complex concerto? But Perlman knows that the flawless performance the world sees is built upon the foundation of that unseen, undistracted, foundational practice. Mary was practicing her scales. Martha was trying to perform the concert without that foundational, centering practice, and the stress was causing her to unravel. She forgot that the most beautiful service flows from a place of being filled, not from a place of running on empty. Acknowledging our need for Jesus, as Mary did, isn't a sign of weakness, it's the prerequisite for true strength. It's how we open ourselves to His presence, allowing His peace to become the rhythm of our work, rather than letting the chaos of our work dictate the rhythm of our hearts. This idea of choosing a center, of prioritizing presence with God so that our actions can flow from a place of peace, isn't just a personal, internal discipline, it's a principle so fundamental that God literally designed an entire nation's layout around it. Let's travel back in time again, to the vast, unforgiving wilderness. The Israelites, having been freed from 400 years of slavery in Egypt, are now a nomadic people, learning to trust God for their daily survival. They are, in a sense, a society under construction, and God gives them a very specific architectural blueprint for how to live. When it came time to make camp, the instructions were precise. Certain tribes were to camp on the north side, others on the south, east, and west. But the most important instruction was about what occupied the very heart of the community. It wasn't the tent of Moses, their leader. It wasn't the marketplace. It was the tabernacle, the portable dwelling place representing the very presence of God among His people. The book of Numbers makes this explicit. Then the tabernacle, carried by the Levites, will set out from the middle of the camp. All the tribes are to travel in the same order that they camp, each in position under their appropriate family banner. Numbers chapter 2 verse 17. Think about the power of this visual. Whether they were settled or on the move, God was always at their physical and geographical center. Every single day, an Israelite would wake up, step out of their tent, and their eyes would naturally be drawn to the center, to the reminder of who they were and whose they were. Their entire existence was oriented around God's presence. Now, this is far more than a fascinating historical or logistical detail. It's a profound metaphor for our own internal architecture. What is at the center of your life? If you were to draw a map of your priorities, your worries, your ambitions, what would be in the middle? For many of us, it might be our career. For others, our family, or perhaps it's a desire for security, comfort, or success. These are not bad things. Just as Martha's desire to serve was not a bad thing, but they were never designed to be the center. This reminds me of the architectural principle of a keystone. In a Roman arch, the keystone is the wedge-shaped stone at the very apex. It may not be the largest stone, but it is the most important. It's the last stone placed during construction, and it locks all the other stones into position, allowing the arch to bear weight. Without the keystone, the entire structure is just a fragile, unstable pile of rocks. Our spiritual life is an arch. Our career, our relationships, our finances, our mental health, these are all important stones. But if God is not our keystone, if He is not the central, load-bearing principle that holds everything else together, the entire structure of our life becomes unstable. The slightest pressure can cause it to crumble. To make Jesus the center of your life means you are intentionally making Him your keystone. You are acknowledging that He is the ultimate authority, the one who gives purpose, strength, and cohesion to every other part of your existence. It means you voluntarily yield control, trusting that His design for your life is stronger than your own. You stop trying to run your own life independently and instead surrender your whole self to following His lead. So, if the story of Mary shows us the posture of a centered life, a posture of presence, and the tabernacle shows us the blueprint, a life designed around God's presence, then where do we find the practical instructions? How do we actually build this? A scribe, a religious scholar, once asked Jesus this very question, wanting to boil everything down to its essential core. And one of his scribes came up and heard them disputing with one another, and seeing that he answered them well, asked him, "Which commandment is the most important of all?" Jesus answered, "The most important is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. The second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these." Mark chapter 12 verses 28 to 31. This is the instruction manual. Notice the two dimensions. First, the vertical. Loving God with every fiber of our being. This is our tabernacle, our center point, our personal connection to the divine. Just like Mary at Jesus' feet. This is the source. But it doesn't stop here. It flows into the horizontal, loving our neighbor as ourselves. Our centeredness on God is meant to radiate outwards in compassion, service, and grace to the people around us. This is where Martha's service finds its true, peaceful expression. When our service to others flows from our love for God, it no longer creates anxiety, it becomes an act of worship. So, as we bring these ideas together, we see a beautiful, holistic picture emerge. Putting God first is not about feeling guilty for being busy. It is not an abstract theological concept. It is the conscious, daily act of choosing our keystone, of building the arch of our lives around the one thing that can bear the weight of it all. It's the quiet practice before the public performance. It's choosing the posture of presence, like Mary, so that we can engage in the act of service, like Martha, from a place of peace and strength. It's looking at the blueprint of the tabernacle and daring to organize our inner world with God at the absolute center. I know life is demanding. The pressure to place other things on the throne of our hearts is immense. The invitation today is not to add another stressful task to your endless to-do list. The invitation is to discover the one central commitment that brings order, meaning, and profound peace to everything else. I'm genuinely curious, and I'd love for us to build a community of encouragement around this. What is the biggest keystone you are tempted to build your life's arch around? Other than God? For some, it might be your career. For others, your children's success, or maybe a relationship. Share your experience in the comments below. There is no judgment here, only shared understanding and support. And if this way of exploring faith in a deeper, more thoughtful way resonates with you, I would be honored if you'd subscribe and press the notification bell to join our community here at Dawnlight Devotions. Together, we can continue to uncover the profound wisdom hidden in these timeless stories. Thank you for spending this time with me. Go in peace, and may you find your unshakable center this week.